Hi everyone, so welcome back to my study slash the spare bedroom in my mum's house where I keep most of my books, and the reason I am here today with a slight echo, apologies for that, is that I am going to do the Do I Have That Other Book challenge. So this is a sort of sequel challenge to the aptly named Do I Have That Book challenge, which was created by Keeping Tabs and Current Chapter, whose channels I'll both link down below, and I would highly encourage you to go and check out. I think this concept is so much fun. I know a lot of people have done it. I'm a little bit behind on this second instalment, but I knew I really wanted to do it when I had an opportunity because it's just like a lot of fun to film and a lot of fun to watch. Essentially there is a series of 20 questions, 20 requirements, say do you have a white book on your shelf for example, and you have to time yourself to see how long it takes you to find books on your shelf for each of those 20 questions. The way I did this last time when I filmed the first instalment was that I timed myself finding the books and then told you about the books after the timer was finished, so that I had a little bit of an opportunity to go into more detail, and that is what I plan on doing today as well. I have the questions up on my laptop on my desk and I'm going to set a timer on my phone, and let's basically see if I can beat my previous record because it took me ages last time. You know, I am not quick at this at all. And let's start now. Okay, right. Question number one is, do you have a book with a fox on the front cover or part of the plot? This should be quite easy because there was like a period when like every book had a fox on it, and I'm pretty sure I can think of one already. But of course it would be on the bottom of a stack of books. A lot of my books are stacked these days to fit into the bookcases, and that kind of makes them harder to get out. Oh my goodness, okay. Yes, this is a fox. Okay, question number two is, do you have a book that was published the year you were born or within a 3-year radius? I was born in 1992, not 82, which a few people misheard in a previous video and everyone thought I was 38. I'm 28. A book that came out, I know I do. I'm just not sure what. I know I do have books that came out in the early 90s. When did this come out? This came out, dang nabbit, no, way too late. Right. Okay, let's have a look at this. I think this might be too late as well. Yep, not. Who remembers the year the books came out? 2008, right? I have no concept, clearly. I feel like one of the Harry Potter books would have worked, but they are downstairs and that would take too long. So let's go in here. Let's look at some of my children's books. Secret of Platform 13, I think that's too old. Pretty sure. Oh! 1990... this is 1994, which would be within 3 years of my birth. Hey ho, let's just go with this. It says 1994 inside, so great, cool. It might just be when Pam Macmillan first published it. Do you have a book with music as a weapon or magic? Yes, I can think of something, and it's definitely a mass market paperback, which is, oh, I'm going to mess up my shelf so badly, aren't I? Where is it? There it is, Fires of the Faithful. I want this. Come to me. This one, I'm just going to bring my laptop over here, right. Next question is, do you have a series with mismatched covers? I must do. I absolutely must do, but of course I can't do. Ooh, that would count, wouldn't it? Right, okay. These are some books from when I was a kid, and they are the Pong Whiffy series, and look, they're not in matching editions. Cool. Right, next question. Do you have a book with a shapeshifter? Again, I must. How much fantasy do I own? So much. There must be some shapeshifters in here. Oh, I've not read this, but I am 100% certain, based on what I know of it, that this has a shapeshifter. Okay. Do you have a book signed by the author? Yes, I do. I have a few. Where are they though? That's the question. Is it not? Oh, there. This one. Signed by the author. Yeah, a lot of children's books here. Do you have a book with a mostly red cover? Yep. That's nice because you don't have to think about the contents, you can just see that on the bookcase. Do you have a book between 287 and 306 pages? Oh, I'm so bad at sort of telling the length of books from the way they look. Right, okay. Oh, too long. So something that looks smaller than Cemetery Boys. Oh. Yes, yep, this one. Do you have a book with a main character who wears glasses? Again, Harry Potter would work so well for a lot of these questions, but they're downstairs, so that's not happening. I might come back to that. Okay, do you have a book with a title that has the same number of letters as your first name? Oh, so 4 letters. We've got 4 letters to work with here, guys. Yes, I do. Great, perfect. So easy. Emma by Jane Austen. Do you have a book with a cybercrime technology as a plot point? Cybercrime or technology as a plot point? Sorry, I feel like I'm off camera for a lot of this. I'll put this here. That'll make it easier to read. Cybercrime. I mean, I've got sci-fi books. So do any of them have cybercrime? Well, general technology should be fine. This has technology in it, so we're just going with this. Technology. And then we have, do you have a book written in another language or translated to English? Yes, I can see one right from here. Cool. This one was originally written in French. We have, sorry, dropped it on the floor, don't mind me. Do you have a book written by an Asian author? Yes, I do. Where are you? I can think of one that I read very recently, if I could just see it on the oh, there we go. There we go. The Majesties. Do you have a book with a moon on the cover? Oh, I must do. Moons are such like an iconic kind. Oh, that has a moon. I can see it on the side. Oh, better have a moon on the front. Yeah, moon, crescent moon. Do you have a collection of fairy tales or myths? Yes, I do. Actually, most of those aren't in this room, but I have a few in this room, thankfully. Collection of fairy tales or myths. Come here. Ta-da! Scottish fairy tales and folk tales. Do you have a sci-fi fantasy with an alliance between races? Yep. I guess this counts as an alliance. It's a marriage that works out, so it's pretty allied. Do you have a oh no, I've skipped backwards. Do you have a book with a narrow front cover, paperback with a front cover that is slightly... Yes! 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 Oh! Oh, don't fall over, don't fall over, don't fall over. Look at that now. If that isn't a narrow front cover, I don't know what is. Do you have a book that includes the first chapter of the sequel? I don't know, I must. We're gonna have to come back to that one. Okay, ooh, questions. Do you have a book with a broken spine? I mean, a ton. Oh, that one I picked up earlier that then didn't work. Where did that go? Oh, here. Broken spine, mass market paperbacks. You can't not break the spine. And then bonus question, do you have a book that covers 3 or more of the above prompts? Probably. Probably. I can't think off the top of my head. Should I go back? What did I not do? I didn't do glasses, which I still honestly cannot think. Ooh, oh, it's not the main character, it's a side character. I mean, I think that might be the best we're going to do, side character. So this will be my glasses book, and then a book with the first chapter of the sequel at the end. I remember reading something recently that did, but I can't remember what it was, so I'm going to have to give up on that one. And that's the end, so let's see how long it took me. Oh, just over 10 minutes. I don't think that was particularly quicker than last time. Again, I'll have to double check, but it doesn't feel that quick. However, let's have a look at the books that I pulled out then, shall we? So question number 1 was, do you have a book with a fox on the front cover or in the plot? And I do have this, which is Pax by Sarah Pennypacker, and this is a middle grade novel about a boy and his friend who's a fox, but I haven't read this one, so I can't say too much about it. So that's kind of all we're going to do there. We then had the book which was published the year I was born or 3 years either way. But this is a middle grade book. It was one of my favourites as a kid. It actually was the inspiration behind certain elements of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, and it's so clever and imaginative and wonderful. It's about a little boy who is left behind by mistake by his parents, and they can't come back to find him for many years because they have to wait for the secret platform of 13 to reopen again between their world and the human world, so they can find him and bring him back because he's actually secretly a prince. And I love this book as a kid. Something that's not a children's book though, number 3 was a book that uses music as magic or a weapon, and for that I have Fires of the Faithful by Naomi Kritzer. This is the first in a fantasy duology, a queer fantasy duology, which I adore, and it's initially set in a music conservatory in fact, but leaves the conservatory during book 1. However, music remains a really integral part of what becomes the revolutionary movement in this book, and there is certainly some magic and sort of practical use to music throughout the duology. I won't say too much more than that, but these are fantastic. We then had a series with mismatched covers. So this isn't a complete series, these are just some of my books from when I was a kid that I've kept because I love them, and these are some of the Pongwiffi books. So these are comical children's books about a witch and her coven, and her name is Pongwiffi. These are obviously very different editions. These are the ones that I first started reading that I think you could buy when I was a kid, and then this was like a later edition. I don't know when this came out. I still got it when I was a kid, but these were probably like a newer edition. They came out whilst I was still a child, 2003, so I guess I was 11 when I got this one, which was probably near the age where I was stopping reading these books, but I used to love these. We then had a book with a shapeshifter, and I haven't read this, but it's Divine by Mistake, a Goddess of Partholon novel by P.C. Cast, and this is a fantasy romance novel that my friend Jill had recommended to me because it's got references to ancient Greek mythology in it. It sounds quite funny as well, but in particular I know that the love interest in this is a centaur who can shapeshift from centaur to human form. So that's shapeshifting. Then for books signed by the author, I have Girls in Tears by Jacqueline Wilson. I always immediately remember this one when I think of signed books because I remember going to see Jacqueline Wilson at the Edinburgh Book Festival when I was a kid the same year this book came out, and getting her to sign my book. And these books were just such a big part of my kind of like pre-teen years in that sort of transitional phase, and I know if you were sort of that age, at the same age as me in Britain, there's a good chance you were reading these books, and I remember this one coming out and getting it signed by the author and being super duper excited about it. Let me find, yes, it says to Jean up here. Love Jacqueline Wilson, which is super cute, very special. And then a book with a mostly red cover. I think we can fairly say that this has a mostly red cover minus our black crow and outlining of even the text, which is in red. In fact, if you can't even make that out, it says Witches of Ash and Ruin by E. Latimer. I haven't read this one, but it's a YA witchy fantasy book that I do really want to get to. Then for a book between, what was it, 287 and 306 pages, I think I grabbed one that works. Yes, this has 295 pages. It's The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle, which is a bit of a classic fantasy novel. I've not read this, so I have very little to say on it. But then we had a book with a main character who wears glasses. This book doesn't have a main character who wears glasses, but it has a side character who wears glasses. And the reason I remember that, as opposed to I think a lot of books where I just wouldn't remember if someone wears glasses or not, is because a spell is conducted at some point that basically cures his eyesight and he stops wearing glasses. But the fact that he wears glasses at the beginning, I think, you know, in the first couple of books in fact, so feels like enough. And this is Book of Shadows by Kate Tiernan. It's the first book in the Sweep or the Wicca series. They were published under different titles depending on whether you were in North America or whether you're in Europe. And these are like YA witchy books that I adored when I was a teenager and actually reread a couple of years ago and still just like had like a lot of nostalgic fun, good feelings about. We then had a book which has the same number of letters in the title as are in your first name. My first name is Jean, so that's 4 letters, and Emma by Jane Austen also has 4 letters and also happens to be a first name. And I also feel like I may have included this in the last version of this video I did for a different challenge, but I can't remember what it was. This is one of Jane Austen's sort of like comedic, you know, Regency, romance books. You all know who Jane Austen is at this point, I'm sure. And then we had a book which includes cybercrime or technology. This doesn't, I don't know if this includes cybercrime actually because I've not read it, but definitely includes technology. It's the sequel to The Long Way to a Small and Angry Planet, which I have read and loved. 5-star read, absolutely adore it, and this is, like I said, book 2, and I want to read this soon. It's A Closed and Common Orbit by Becky Chambers. It's set in space, tons and tons and tons of technology in a far future version of our universe, and I just love these books. So yes, technology, I feel. We then had a book translated from another language into English, and for this I picked up A Winter's Promise by Crystal Dabble, which is book 1 in the Mirror Visitor series. This is a very complex, very intricate YA fantasy series originally written in French. I've read the first 2 books, but I have the first 3 books on my shelf, so I really need to get to book 3. They're just fabulous. They're so incredibly detailed. Like I said, there like is no other YA fantasy like it in my opinion. Love these books. And then I had a book written by an Asian author, and for that I grabbed The Majesties by Tiffany Tsao, and this is set in Indonesia. I actually don't know where the author currently resides, but the book itself is set in Indonesia and follows a Chinese family who live in Indonesia, and it's like a sort of literary mystery thriller. It's gorgeous. I love this book. It's so unnerving and compelling and intriguing and mysterious and just wonderful. It's about a woman who's in a coma after her sister has poisoned their entire family, and she's the sole survivor, so she's sort of tracing back in her mind what led up to the events of the poisoning. We then had Do You Have a Book with a Moon on the cover, and this is The Girl King, Two Sisters, One Crown by Mimi Yu, and it has like a little crescent moon up here in the top, but I haven't read this, so I don't really know what it's about. It's a fantasy book. And I'm also just now realising I missed a question. I like got confused and missed the next question, which is, do you have an illustrated children's book? And I do. So let me just grab one for you right from here. In fact, honestly, I did not plan this. Have you seen this book? I wrote it. It's an illustrated children's book. This is Greek Myths by Jimeas and illustrated by the incredible Katie Ponder. It is a non-fiction book that recounts all of the original Greek myths and also gives you a little bit of context and background to them and includes beautiful illustrations. So, really didn't mean that to happen, but convenient plug, I guess. We then had Do You Have a Collection of Fairy Tales or Myths, and for that I grabbed this book, which is Scottish Folk and Fairy Tales from Burns to Buchan. This is a Penguin Classic collected edition of fairy tales from lots of different folklorists and classic Scottish authors. This is brilliant, such a fantastic introduction to Scottish folklore, and I love so many of the stories in this collection, so would highly recommend this. We then had a book with an alliance between races, for which I picked Radiance by Grace Draven, and I think I already said, but this involves a wedding, an arranged marriage between a human and a Kai, as you can see here on the front, who are two different races, and it's about their marriage, which starts off as a friendship and then gradually builds into a fully fledged romance, and it's so beautiful. It is my favourite romance book of all time, so I had to pick this one. We then had a book with a narrow front cover, which I have this. So this is published by Les Figues Press Poetry, and all of their books look like this, sort of very slim style, narrow front covers, and I haven't read this. I own two of them. I bought them years ago from the press itself because I was intrigued by them but never got around to them, and would still really like to read them. So this in particular is Things to Do with Your Mouth by Divya Victor, and this is poetry, so I do need to get to that. I'm sorry about the ones I haven't read and can't say too much about in this video. We then lastly had a book with a broken spine. As you can tell, that's one hell of a broken spine right there. So this is Son of Shadows, which is book 2 in the Seven Water series by Juliet Marillier, and I think this is my favourite of the series. I've actually never read book 6, there's 6 books in total, and I'm kind of nervous to finish the series because, as you may know, it's one of my favourite fantasy series, but of the ones I've read, this is probably my favourite, although I do love book 1 as well, Daughter of the Forest. I just adore it. It's set in medieval Ireland, it's got like a strong female protagonist, it's got fae, it's got romance, it's just gorgeous, and it is, as you can see, pretty beat up. It was already a bit like this when I bought it. I bought this second hand and it already had a broken spine, but I would undoubtedly have broken it as well myself because these little mass market paperbacks are almost impossible to read without breaking the spine given how compact they are. I have plenty of other broken spine mass market paperbacks on my shelves as well. Those, however, are all the books that I managed to pick up. The last question, like I mentioned, was to find a book that fulfilled more than 3 of those prompts, and I am struggling off the top of my head to think of anything. I'm struggling to think of 3. This one that I just grabbed there is one of my children's books. Again, this is Pure Dead Wicked by Debbie Glory, which is book 2, sequel to Pure Dead Magic, and this is obviously mostly read. It also is signed. It says, and for Jean with love from Debbie Glory. I also got this one signed at the Edinburgh Book Festival when I was a kid, but it came out in 2002, so it wouldn't work for the publication date. How many pages are there? Not enough to come to the page count. It has teeny tiny illustrations in it, just at the top of the chapter headings. Could that count as an illustrated children's book? I'm not sure. I do have these books in slightly different editions, only because this is obviously a hardback and book 1 is a paperback, so perhaps I could count this as one that's in a series with mismatched editions. Can we say that? Then I would be successfully managing to complete all the challenges except a book which has the first chapter of the next book in it. I mean, does this have the first chapter of the next book in it? I don't think so. Nope. Really? Failed with that one. So I think that pretty much brings this video to a close. Sorry about all of the jumping around and being off camera, but hopefully you've enjoyed it. These are just slightly different, fun, hectic videos to film that, just like I said, are a little bit different, and I really enjoy watching them, so hopefully you enjoyed watching my rendition. Let me know if you do have any video requests though for the coming months in the comments down below, because I don't know if it's the end of the year or because my PhD is stressing me out at the moment. I'm feeling a little bit stuck for ideas, so would really appreciate if you could let me know what you'd like to see. But until next time, happy reading, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye everyone!